All right, it's 7 o'clock. Let's get this thing started. Go to all messages. Howdy, Zen Ginger. Welcome in. I'm a little frustrated right now. I got my 3D printer. I was working with it, printing stuff, and got new filament for it, different colors and stuff. And it decided I'm doing something wrong with it or something. Maybe I bought the wrong type of filament, but it's just throwing stuff everywhere. So I shut that off and came in here and noticed my 55-gallon aquarium here. The stupid light on it, I hate it. Whatever brand it is, I don't suggest buying it. It has a built-in timer and it has a mind of its own. When I came in here, it was off and it's supposed to be on right now. And I say, whatever, be off. I'll switch lights later. And sitting here fixing to go live, and all of a sudden, 7 o'clock p.m., it decided to turn on like it's morning time. I don't know. So I'll get a new one. Take that one somewhere else. All right, everybody's showing up. Said hello to Zen Ginger. Eric Wyrock, welcome. Skull Aquatics, welcome. Nancy B. Tennessee, welcome, welcome. Zen says her Phoenix used to get all screwy if we had some kind of power surge. Well, see, that's what I thought it was at first, that it would just like lose its mind if the power went out. But the power hasn't been going out, and it's just been like losing its mind anyway. So it'll come on in the middle of the night, it'll turn off when it's supposed to be on. It'll be off the whole day and then just come on at dark. I don't know. Let's see. Eric says he didn't like the built-in timers. Uses Casa timers. Normally I use like the little timers that go in the outlet and then you plug your light into that. I like those a whole lot better than a built-in timer, but I thought I haven't done a built-in timer. I haven't actually used one. And I thought getting this light, I could just not use the built-in timer. If I didn't like it, I could go back to the old faithful outlet timer. This light doesn't have an option not to use the built-in timer. Correct, Jeff Kane. It is not morning time here. It is somewhere else. I don't want to start the work day over. I just got out of that. I just got out of my work day and got home. Fought with the 3D printer for a couple minutes. Gave up on that. Fed the fish real quick, and I think my Nanaludias, I think I've got 2 pair in there instead of just one. Because I have what looks like 2 sets of fry that are different ages, and 2 sets of adults that are guarding different corners. So maybe I'll get some surviving fry out of it one way or the other. Zen says her CO2 and lights are on a Casa timer. And if I'm pronouncing it wrong, if it's Casa or something else, let me know. I haven't heard of that timer. I don't keep up with brands of stuff. Not typically. I use like digital timers, and I use the old analog flip the switch on the dial type timers is the type that I've been using. The digital ones are nice. That I can program them a little better. Nancy B says the ghost cat's caught back up to me. I sure hope not. Strange things happen, but that ghost cat just, I don't know, gave me the chills. Jeff loves the Fluval app timer. I see. I can't do anything too fancy because I'm a cheapskate, and I don't have. I typically don't have Wi-Fi here at the house. I don't have internet, cable, anything like that. I run everything off of my cell phones. So when I need to use like Wi-Fi for a printer or something like that, I use the hotspot on the phone. If I'm watching something on TV, I'll use my phone's hotspot to hook up a streaming service or something like that through the phone. So Eric, I think that you're saying you pronounce it Casa, similar to how I was. Nancy doesn't want to do the pronunciation thing again. Zen has a statement there that she says she didn't say, not to repeat. So we won't repeat it. Getting stuff on Prime Day to get them near free. I can't even remember Prime Day and how that works. I order stuff, and apparently, if this 3D printer filament's any sign, I order the wrong stuff a lot of the times, and I'm too lazy to send it back. So, Eric says, same Zenny, I try to spend the difference on co-op merch. Corey should be compensated for his knowledge. The Fluval isn't Wi-Fi, unfortunately, which not being Wi-Fi would be a benefit to me. How does one function without dedicated interwebs at their house? I've went most of my adult life without internet at my house and without cable or satellite or anything, mainly because I'm cheap. I'm not at home very much. I had like Dish or internet, or not internet. I had I did have internet when the kids were real little and home all day long, and because they were there a lot. But had cable and internet and that type of stuff. But that may have been just like 5 or 10 years. But most of the rest of my adult life, I haven't had, didn't see a need in it. That I'm at work most of the time, and when I'm at the house, I'm busy doing something. Or once smartphones came along, I was, on YouTube on the phone. Don't repeat, but post on the screen for all to see. You're not supposed to catch on to that part of it. Am I stealing the neighbor's Wi-Fi right now? No. I was going to say I'm running off my cell signal, but apparently this cell phone that I'm using as a camera also has hooked onto the hotspot of my other phone for some unknown reason. The only time that I've ever stolen a neighbor's Wi-Fi was in an emergency situation whenever I was uh, stranded at the house without cell phone signal and a vehicle and needed to get to work. And I stole the neighbor's Wi-Fi in order to rig the phone that didn't have signal up to make a call to figure out where my car had went. With all the savings you have to be rolling in the cash. Me, I'm not rolling in cash. I have a fish addiction. And bills and stupid tax and stuff like that. You mean you go outside, whispers, like where the people are? I go outside out here where there aren't people. And Skull said his son runs his house with a hotspot box from Verizon for $25 a month. Yeah, and my cell phone plans have built-in hotspot, and it's unlimited up to a certain level, and then they slow your speed down. And I found that off of one of the plans, I never go over that limit. And I figured if I ever did, then I could just switch to the other phone's hotspot. But as technology moves on further and further, and more things become dependent upon Wi-Fi, I've been thinking about getting it at some point. With like the smart outlets and smart TVs and smart everythings. It'd probably make it a little easier. But I just hate having expenses for things that I wouldn't use. Like even when I had internet before, I got like the lowest package that they sold. It was like $15 a month, and the salesperson was telling me, said, "Well, the only thing you'll be able to do with this is like check email like once a month because it won't pick up. It won't be fast enough to do anything else. You can't do Wi-Fi on it or anything." I said, "Okay, that'll be fine." And I ran Wi-Fi off of it. I ran multiple TVs, and it ran fine for me. Nathan Hovey's here. Hovey. Welcome. Hello, my fishy friends. I don't know if I've ever made a live because some reason my notification wasn't on. My notifications are turned on for channels, and then it decides to send them to me like 3 days after the live happens. My Facebook does the same thing. I was telling somebody last night that I got a notification that they posted something right then, and I went and looked, and it said 18 hours ago they posted this. I'm like, well, that's no good. Zen says, I haven't been without dedicated internet since I was 13 years old. Since the days of the first AOL CDs, waiting for pages to finish loading and chatting with people in DOS. Let's see. My first internet was dial-up, so I don't know if you count that as dedicated, because it was on the same phone line. And then I never had it as a kid. An adult life, I had it in college, kind of required for that. And then maybe 10 years of adult life. When I had my kids and before they were old enough to go to school, just sat at home. The second one was right, not ho. Either way, doesn't matter. People have said it ho my entire life. So hovey, like hover, hovey. See, that's what I thought, but I said it the other way first. Zen's the pro mod because of always having the internet access. Yep, dial-up modem screaming at you and hoping nobody in the house picked up the phone. Well, see, the way around that is you just go to the phone. If you've got multiple phones in the house, wherever you go to those and unplug the phone line from those. So the only actual phone line that's active is the one going into your computer. Nathan got a free laptop a while back, but can't use it at the moment because it can't connect to the new router as the computer is using Windows 7. It's too old. Yeah, I had to get a new computer. Apparently the one that I had, which I never used, according to my tech savvy brother, wasn't even a real computer. So it didn't have any memory or anything. It could get online to watch YouTube, what little that I used it for, and make up presentations for the Fish Club and that type of stuff, but nothing where it actually needed to do any processing. Liquid Zoo came in. Stephen P. Welcome, folks. Exactly, Matt. A Chromebook. I don't. It has a keyboard and a screen. It's a computer, right? A full out computer. To me, when I made that purchase, as long as it didn't have a image of a fruit on it, it's good quality. But I've learned some stuff since then. Not really, but my brother told me, he said, get one that says this and this and this and this, and I got that stuff. And he says you can actually snap things into them to make them better or something. So I'm going to talk to him about making my laptop be better. The only thing I knew you could snap into it was like a mouse and a keyboard, but apparently you can do other things. You can actually get decent Chromebooks and install lots of actual apps, but that's for another day. Yeah, that's something like like I was used to Windows forever and how it all worked and all that kind of stuff. And then I got the Chromebook and it works like my Android phone, which I liked. But then I got an actual Windows laptop again. I got to remember how to use that, of actually like downloading programs and stuff. Nathan says it sucks because he can't get on the Wi-Fi to update it. Tried connecting to the phone's hotspot, but no luck. I'm not a tech person, so completely clueless what to do. I used to be more of a tech person, but I didn't continue knowing stuff. So I know back in the day, you could get like Windows disks to switch versions, but now it's probably all online, and you can't get online unless you have the right Windows or something. Like, I didn't know that apparently computers have expiration dates that once they reach that date, they're disposable or something. At least that's the way I understood it. That when they make computers, they give them a date, and once it gets past that date, you're supposed to throw it away or something. I don't. It should be as simple as a fish tank. Now you can run a fish tank from 50 years ago, and it still will work the same as it did back then, unless it like physically breaks. Craig's Catfish Cave came in. Welcome, welcome. People complained when they changed the window format. Changed the window format a while back, but I actually like it once I figured out all the shortcuts because it was more app friendly. Yeah, I liked the Windows. I get used to like the Windows 2000 version or X or whatever it was called back around 2000. And they started changing things, and I got used to that. And they changed things again. And I think we're using like Windows 11 or something like that at work now, and I don't like it. Just because everything changed again. And then on computers, they call stuff apps and programs and different stuff. Calling them apps confuses me because that's what ought to be on a phone. Let's see. Steven says there's a cutoff where an operating system will stop receiving updates, but it doesn't expire the computer. So if the operating system stops receiving updates, so you can't update the operating system, and then programs won't run on that older operating system, but you can't upgrade your operating system, what do you do? So say like you've got a Windows 7 computer and you can't update that Windows operating system, and let's say YouTube won't run off of Windows 7 anymore, or the internet won't run off Windows 7 anymore. If you can't run stuff off the computer, then what do you do with it? I'm lost there. I'm thinking if the computer won't do anything, then I don't know. My smart TV is so old, software is no longer supported by streaming services. I had to buy Roku. Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. So now the TVs are getting the same way. Yeah, I'm not buying smart TVs. Buy the dumb TV and hook a Roku to it. And there's Whip. Welcome in, Whip. Okay, so you can buy the update, like if you got a Windows 7 computer, you can buy the update. Is it, well, computers anymore don't even come with disk drives. If it won't let you on the internet because of the Windows, how do you get it on there? Yeah, I get that stuff's got to change, but I don't like change. Things ought to be like it was 30 or 40 years ago. Everything was cheaper. I'm guessing this name is pronounced Amazing Spirit. Welcome. And if I said your name wrong, I apologize. I saw somebody say, yep, I missed Bewizzle. Welcome, Bewizzle. Bewizzle. Trying to scroll through everybody saying hello to everybody. Coro says, my Roku did that. Roku did, what is that? Your Roku did the, what, an update? So Roku's have to update? I hope not. I've got 3 of them. Not that they all work, but we're all hooked up, but I have them. Nancy B says, in the Roku was cheaper than replacing the TV. It's 4K Samsung and still looks great. Just no talky with internet stuff. My TV, I probably need a new one. It's probably, let's see, I got it right after my oldest daughter was born. So we'll say it's probably 13 years old. It's not smart at all. It's like right when HD was coming out, I think. So if your smart TV won't communicate with anything anymore, does that mean it's not smart anymore? And so if it's not smart anymore, did it like, I don't know. Nathan says the only thing I want the laptop for is YouTube Lives. That's all I used the Chromebook for, was for YouTube, and I rarely used it for that because it was so different looking than on the phone. And then I used it for the fish clubs for presentations and that type of stuff. And if I had to do something that said I had to get on a desktop and I couldn't trick my phone into thinking it was a desktop, I would log on there. Oro said, I had a Roku and Roku lost their contract with YouTube and now I don't use the Roku. I still use my Roku for watching YouTube. Used to, you could get a bunch of like third-party streaming services and stuff on Roku. Some, like, I don't know if the term's open source or not official or whatever. You could get all kinds of different stuff on Roku, but then they cracked it down and it had to be like official streaming services, not just stuff that people made. So do you all have? So I'm reading Zen's comment about going from a Sony TV to a Samsung. So do you all have like brand preferences? You have like you have to have a Samsung, you have to have a Sony, you have to have a Sanyo or whatever the brands are anymore. I knew a guy that he would only do Sony things. He would only do Sony radios and Sony TVs, even the batteries that he bought. I didn't know that Sony made batteries, but he only put Sony batteries in his products, which were all Sony. There's the answer to my question. How do you get it on there? A thumb drive. See, I forget those even exist. I'm still thinking like floppy disks. Or maybe CDs, but thumb drives. And I remember when they came out, and maybe they're different things, but I remember them being called thumb drives and jump drives and different names for them, and thinking they can't even get their act together of what these things are called. They'll never take off. Flash drives, jump drives, thumb drives. I don't know what went on with Roku and YouTube. They mine's worked for as long as I've had Roku. But there, it is possible that maybe the YouTube that you were using was one of those third-party streaming services that wasn't like the actual YouTube proper one, because people back then people were able to make up their own streaming channel or whatever streaming service and call it whatever, and you could put it on your Roku and go to that instead of whatever, and so they could make it look just like YouTube and work just like YouTube, and it may be a link to YouTube, but not be made by YouTube. I'm confusing myself. Zen says, ask Myrtle. His software is over 20 years old now. Oro said, I had a Roku device, not a Roku TV, like a box that plugged in to a Samsung TV. Yeah, all of my Rokus are like little, I don't know, like little little things, and I've glued them to the bottom of the TVs. Big Tank Hank, welcome. Or you gave your Roku to Goodwill? Hey, it may be one of the ones I have. Picked up one of these at Goodwill. Another example of me being cheap. I find stuff at Goodwill, and if I can get it working, I use it. This is why I like Chromecast. Been using the same ones for like 10 years. Is Chromecast a TV? A computer? Chrome sounds like Google. And in my mind, Google shouldn't have been around 10 years, but I know they have. Time just goes by faster than what I realize. And the Roku things, then the new TVs came with it. So no longer use individual Roku devices. See, I had thought get a new TV that has all that stuff built into it. But now realizing that the TV can not be updated and not work, I might have to just keep the old plug-in Rokus. Whip says, I have a Sony smart TV I bought 8 or 9 years ago. It was something like $2,000 at the time and only 46 inches, still works fine. Now you can get a 70 plus inch TV or bigger for that company. I know, like, I remember, like, the TV I've got's a 55 inch. And I got a deal on it because it was like the last one of that model that the store had. And it may have been like $500-$600. And now you can get a 55 inch. I think I saw a 55 inch at Walmart that's better than what this one is. And it was like $300, maybe $200. That's what got me thinking about, hey, getting a new TV. This one's, almost 15 years old. I got this TV to replace one of those floor model big screens that had like the wheels on it, that like rear projector TVs. So I thought I was moving up, but like this one's, I think it's a plasma or whatever, and it weighs like almost 200 pounds for a flat screen TV. So probably need to upgrade and get something lighter that, doesn't take 3 people to lift. Coral says, personally, if you want to actually avoid that stuff, plug a computer into your TV. You might need a separate Blu-ray player because playing Blu-ray on Windows is almost impossible. But then you'd have to get a computer that has like a CD drive. Whip's a Sony guy. And then Carl says, but for everything else, a computer will do better than the Roku or whatever else would. So do they make remotes for computers that you could set like in the chair or on the couch, and the TV would be on the other side of the room, and Or do you have to get up, go over? Well, I guess you get a wireless mouse and a wireless keyboard. I don't know. Skull says the one in my garage is a no-name brand from Goodwill. It works great. The only TV that I know what brand I have is the one that's right in front of me because I can see the brand on it. It's a Sanyo. The ones in the two bedrooms there are some brand that I got a deal on Facebook Marketplace, and I think they're like 36-inch flat screens or 40-inch flat screens or whatever. And they one of the local motels or hotels or whatever you call them was upgrading all the rooms and selling all the fridges and TVs and furniture and everything. So I don't remember if it's $5 or $10 a piece I paid for them. And for TVs that never get watched, that's a pretty good price. Ames says Samsung for phone only. I'm not too picky on my phones. One phone that I carry is an Apple only because that's a work requirement. And then the other phone will be a Android phone always. But whether it's a Samsung or an LG or a Motorola or whatever manufacturer, I'm not too picky on that as long as it's an Android. I figure that way it gives me the best of both worlds. I have the Apple, the iPhone abilities and the Android abilities, and they're on two different carriers. So in case I don't have signal with one, I can use the other one. Zen is a Samsung girl, but hates her new dishwasher, or hates her dishwasher now. Poorly built, but love the washer, dryer, fridge, TV, phone, and tablet. And all that's Samsung. Brand loyalty. There's Bruiser coming in. Welcome, welcome. Steven says, I do not have brand preference for TVs because I don't buy expensive, latest, and greatest TVs. 99.9% of all TV panels are manufactured by like 2 or 3 companies. Most things are like that. And I've learned more working in retail and manufacturing industries and stuff like that, that most of the things out there are made by just a small handful of facilities, and they just put different labels on it. That's really big in like the aquarium industry, like your filters, which I think is funny, like the hang on the back filters. 3 different hang on the back filters are made by the same factory, the same exact design. Basically, they change the shape of the uplift tube and the shape above the lid, put a different imprint on it, put it in a different box, and one's called one of the better ones, and one is called one of the worst ones, and they're the same thing. Let's see, Zen says the dishwasher and washer dryer do, not the model of fridge I got. So Samsung singing is an actual thing. These stupid Danios jumping out of the water like splashing. What are they doing? All right, Coro's got some. Rather than embracing a mutually beneficial partnership approach, some big tech enterprises are using their market power to extend control over independent businesses like Roku to benefit their broader business objectives at the expense of consumer, putting a fair and open competitive streaming market at risk. All that from Roku. A lot of companies also, instead of designing their own products or spending the money to research new developments, they'll go into a pool with a bunch of other competitors, and that one pool, that one group of minds will come up with a new design, a new product, or whatever, and each company will produce that product with a different, if it's a hang on the back filter, a different strainer, a different lid, to make it look a little different and call it something different, but it's the same thing. They do the same thing with electronics, computers, TVs, cars, everything. Craig bought a $3,000 TV back in the day and chucked a lighter at it and it exploded. Nancy says, my Samsung washer was recalled shortly after I bought it because the tops were flying off with a high-speed spin cycle. The repair kit they sent was a sticker that covered over the option on control. Oh boy, that sounds about right. YouTube's been around for almost 20 years now. Yeah, I mean, this channel, the Select Pet channel, I started it 2012, so that's been 14 years ago, and this wasn't my first channel. I had other channels before this one. My first channel, oh, it was a mess. It was houseplants, when I knew nothing about houseplants, but I knew I wanted a channel, and the only community that I had discovered was the houseplant community, and I thought that was the only YouTube community. So I tried that, and then I figured out, I said, well, I'm going to talk about something that I know about and that I enjoy, not plants. And started this channel and started finding other channels that were out there talking about fish. Sadly, probably about 90% of those channels aren't around anymore, but it was the beginnings of me getting into the fish YouTube community. Chromecast is a Google product, yes, plugged into a TV. So like Roku, but, or was it Fire Stick that Amazon has? It's like that thing, but with Google. Now, the best thing any TV is the $20 Google TV 4K streaming box from Walmart. Seriously, Google TV is the greatest, and On's version's perfect. Hello, Skipper. Welcome, welcome. And Mountain Greenery, welcome to you also. So Nancy's got a 43-inch plasma. Do they even make plasma TVs anymore? The next one I buy hopefully won't be a plasma. That thing's heavy. Skull is watching his computer on his TV now. Coral says, I'm saying a computer lets you avoid the vast majority of the software updates. BS Bell can make some infrared remote control stuff. So your universal. I missed the phone that I had that had infrared on it. For the longest time, I would only buy phones that had infrared outputs on it because I could program my phone to be a remote for anything that had infrared receivers. So I would go into a restaurant and they would have a TV playing, and they'd be playing like a ball game or something that I had no interest in. And I could sit at the table while I'm waiting on my appetizers or whatever, and without anyone else notice, use my phone to create a remote control for their TV and change the channel. That was very funny in many cases. That the watch the restaurant staff try to figure out what happened to their ball game, and like, I don't know, MTV come on or whatever, just happened to be a quick flip away just to mess with them a little bit. Zen says, I think my Sony was an LCD, if I recall, and I hated it for years because if I left anything paused too long, it was burned in the screen for half an hour. Coral says they even do that with the Alexa and whatnot, so you can have old analog devices controlled by a Belkin remote that is controlled by the Alexa if you want it. And see, that would be another benefit to having like Wi-Fi, is I could do like I could have an Alexa that make requests for it to do things. My Android phone is supposed to have the Google Assistant on it. I haven't figured out how to work that yet. Or you can have an infrared receiver hooked to your computer. Jenny Lynn, welcome. Let's see, Whip says, I know a lot of products we buy are made in the same facility, but I tend to stick with what works, whether it's just luck of the draw or not. Sony has always done well by me when it comes to TVs and stereos, I'm guessing. Zen finds a brand that works well and then goes with the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. She never purchased any other brand of car stereo but Alpine. I don't even know if they're still around. I don't know. Storm Rider's Legacy. And here I thought, Melvin, I thought you changed your name again, but this is the same one that I remember. Maybe I saw you on one of the other channels that you have. But welcome, Melvin. Only Oscars, welcome. I used to change out the car stereo in all my cars when I got them. Of course, that was high school and college, and I wasn't buying newer cars. It was quite a bit older cars. But then I stopped. I guess that's why I stopped, because I started getting new cars. But now I started buying older cars again. So, but it's almost like the radios in them now are like too smart. My truck isn't a smart one. It's the radio on it is an aftermarket radio now. I'm planning on changing it out to a smarter one one day. Zen says I can't keep up with Melvin. I found out I wasn't subbed to one of his channels just the other day. And that's what it was, Melvin. I saw the Species Hunters TV channel, and I guess I just thought that you had changed the name of this channel to that, because I remember thinking, it doesn't have Legacy in it. How will I ever remember that this is Melvin? Only Oscar said I had to change the stereos because they were always stolen. You had to replace stereos because the original was stolen, or you had to keep changing them out because the ones you were putting in were stolen. You didn't want to leave them in one place too long. The aftermarket one in my truck is a Pioneer, I think. One of the old Pioneer CD players. And I think I'm going to switch that out to one that has a backup camera built into it. So these backup cameras kind of spoil you. I get used to using that backing up. And used to I wouldn't use it at all because, I trust my eyes over I trust a camera. But now using, looking in the camera and using the mirrors and looking behind me, I'm realizing I get a better view, more angles. Whip says Alpine car stereos used to be the gold standard back when I was a kid. Now I'm lame and just stick with stock. I'm just too lazy to change them out anymore. And honestly, I never listen to music anymore. I'll turn like a replay of a live stream on, Bluetooth it to my radio, and put the phone in the passenger seat and listen to replays of Fish live streams on my drives. Stereo theft doesn't happen like it used to. Coro says, I don't see it. Don't hear about it as much. People are more likely to steal your car. And maybe that's what it is. It's easier to steal the cars now than it is to steal the stereos. Or maybe the stereos used to be more interchangeable. You could take it out of one vehicle and put it in another one. And people were putting money into their car stereos where not as much anymore, I don't guess. Zen started listening to podcasts on XM and quit caring about bass levels as much. I used to listen to podcasts quite a bit. And then as the Fish YouTube community, as it is now, started growing more and more, and my job changed some, I found that I was getting behind more and more on the content that I wanted to watch. And so I switched from doing the podcasts to listening to replays of streams. Anti-theft mode. There you go. The cars became more anti-theft, and the radios, I guess, is more complicated. Nancy's favorite car camera is the front-facing, like parking close to curb, so I don't get my doors dinged. I don't know that I've ever driven a car with a front-facing camera. I've had dealings with cars with front-facing cameras, let's say that. I've seen cars that have multiple cameras on them that you could see. You have a camera that can see out the sides. You have cameras that see out the backs, the front. You could build a whole 360 view from it. But the only ones I've driven as my personal vehicles have the backup camera. What do you even get from swapping the stereo out these days? The radio in any car made in the last 10 years is Bluetooth with auxiliary and whatever. Yeah, exactly. And that's the only reason I'm thinking about switching out the stereo on my truck, because it's almost 20 years old. And it didn't have any fancy stuff on it. The aftermarket one that's in it now has Bluetooth, which is nice, but it's so old that the buttons are worn through, and you can't tell what the buttons say anymore. And having the option to throw a backup camera on it would be nice. I used to be, if you didn't want to use a cassette, adapter, headphone jack, or one of those radio broadcasters, you had to put aftermarket stereo in. Yeah, the FM transmitters. Front cameras are great for parallel parking too. That's something else I haven't done in years. But I can see where it would be, and the cars are getting smarter. And a lot of them will parallel park for you. But here we are at the hour mark. It's 8 o'clock. Team Detritus comes in right at the end. But it's 8 o'clock, and I don't want to go too long. Get off here and get stuff done. Wrap the night up before. Gotta do the 3 a.m. work thing. So I thank everyone for coming over and supporting, hanging out. It's always a good time. I'm getting to where I don't dread streaming as much, worrying about what I'm going to say, because that's how I was in the beginning. Was I was worried about what I was going to say. What am I going to talk about? I know that you all will be here and we'll have a good conversation about car stereos or how people say things, or alien conspiracies, or whatever. But anyways, thank you all again for coming over and watching, showing support, lurking, watching replays, all that kind of stuff. And I'll be back next week, if not sooner. See ya.